Hi everybody, welcome back to Talk with TQ and the Energy Stoners Cafe. As usual, I try to find the most interesting people I can find on the planet to present to you. Well, today is very special and I'm very excited because this particular guest and I have a little something in common, but it's really about him. His name is Charles N. Ruppmann. He is a former Daily News photographer, and he has, oh my goodness, a portfolio that's so impressive that I decided a few minutes ago to call him a photo historian. Wonderful pictures of all kinds of things that have happened throughout history that as a Daily News photographer, he was privy to. I always wonder how he had the luck to capture these moments. So Charles, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for indulging me to interview you.
My pleasure.
Yeah, so tell me when you knew you were a photographer. Before you went to the Daily News, I bet you already knew you were a photographer.
No. No, it was developed at that's a good word, developed. It was developed at the News.
No pun intended.
Yeah, and from copy boy I went into the studio as an apprentice. I learned how to mix chemicals and dry them and develop and process them and write captions and stuff like that.
Interesting.
And there was an opening, number 48 or 49 retired, so I got dropped in.
Ooh.
And my first hours were like midnight to 8 or 1 to 9 a.m., I should say. And that's where you learned a lot of little things that you thought you couldn't do, but you did it, like staying up all night. And,
every night.
Every night. And it was wild for a while, and then it naturally looked forward to getting out of it. And then I worked in the evenings, and that was good for sports. Got to do a lot of sports, and hockey especially, and the basketball when the college teams got into it. There's Madison Square Garden was always going with Fordham and St. John's, and then I mentioned the hockey. All the hockey teams would come in one after another, and it was quite interesting. And especially when you get hit with a puck, because you work the rims of. But since then they've put in the plexiglass and locked you up, sort of. Just with a little hole in
much
in the
safer.
glass. Yes, much safer. Fortunately, I never got hit, but it popped off my shoulders a couple of times. But that was part of the game. So
that's gotta hurt.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. For a while.
For a while, yeah.
But it wasn't the head though, so
that's good.
It was good.
That's good to be able to keep your wits about you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So when did you decide? When did the Daily News promote you to be one of their photographers? I mean, Daily News newspaper was world famous, and it was the largest. I just want to tell the audience this. It was, and you probably know this, the highest circulation newspaper in the free world.
That's right. Millions of copies.
Millions and millions.
Yes, and there was the old saying there, and when we were in the plant, when they turned the presses on, the lights would dim on the east side because of the power of those presses, massive presses they run. But
so you were dealing with deadlines, daily deadlines, because I worked for the Daily News, and you had to do certain things at a certain time every single day because the paper was printed every single day.
That's right, and you had to watch. The time, and they did things to like if you were at the scene or something, they'd send a copy boy or somebody in a car, radio car, to pick up your film to get it back and to meet the deadline, and all kinds of tricks like that.
So, Joe, it's really great. This is Julie Overskei. Am I pronouncing your last?
Overskei.
Overskei. I always think of you over the sky because you're just one of those people. But it's Overskei. Yeah. We're at Joe's Body Shop in Peekskill, New York. And you have a beautiful space, and you've been generous enough to exhibit fabulous people like Charles in your space. So how did you and Charles come to know each other?
Serendipity. No, I met Charles's daughter, Amy.
Yes.
And we were talking, and I said, do you think, I think I'm going to start a gallery in my front room because no other well-being practitioners were coming to me to rent the space. And I did have exercise equipment in there, and I just felt like it was wasted space. So I heard that Charles was a photographer, and I said, do you think maybe your dad would want to come and show his work? And then I said he's welcome to come and see the space and see what it would be. And that's how it started. He came in with his daughter, and we agreed upon it. We did a handshake, and we showed 39 of his pieces.
That's right.
And there's a lot more. It was hard to edit, and my husband so graciously on the show.
Oh, he did an excellent job.
Yeah,
Excellent.
He's really great.
Very impressed.
He's a good
with the
man.
captions on it.
Yeah.
It's not as simple as people think.
No, not at all. I love artwork. I love selecting it. I love looking at it. I don't think my forte is hanging it. So I'm really happy that he helped us out. He did a great job.
Very cohesive.
Yeah.
And it flows. And I was fortunate to be able to talk to Charles a few minutes ago for a few minutes about the different pieces of work. So you must have been impressed with his work as soon as you saw it, because I know I was impressed upon seeing it.
Amazing. Every time we turned a photo over, we were like, oh,
I remember that.
And that's, no way, this isn't. And then I get that when people come in and look at the work too, they're like, what is that? Are you kidding me? That's so-and-so, that's him, that's all of these famous people. And it's quite a documentation of time as well.
It is a documentation of time. There are some things that you were able to, by luck, capture that are historical photographs. I mean, you have a picture of Lenny Bernstein there, and you caught a moment, an expression, and I've seen a lot of pictures of Lenny because I'm a Lenny fan, from West Side Story,
Right. Sure.
Did you get to actually speak to him?
No, unfortunately, no. See, you got a deadline.
Yeah.
Probably a deadline, and
You can't hang out, yeah.
you just get your pictures. And it was I thought it was great because I'd never been in the back of the orchestra, always in the front, and it's very hard to get the conductor from the front because he's got his back to you, naturally.
Yeah.
So it worked out quite well.
Yeah, and you got a great shot, which, people, I don't know how long the show will be up, Joe. How long will it be up?
The show will be up now through October 24th.
So there's some time, So I'm going to, suggest the audience come over to Joe's Body Shop in Peekskill, New York, and check it out.
Absolutely.
This is a beautiful space in general. And you've done so much with it, more than... Because I remember when you were on Division Street and you moved over here, it was probably the best thing that ever happened to you and to Peekskill. I love this space. It's so wonderful.
Thank you.
And it has great energy in it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
So what kind of things are you doing besides having exhibits with people? You're actually a massage therapist.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I'm a body worker, and I'm still doing that Tuesday through Saturday.
Has Charles had a massage?
He has not.
Oh.
Look at him. Would you like that? Look at him smile.
He's blushing. He's blushing.
I don't know. My bones would probably break.
No.
I know how not to break your bones.
Okay.
No, it's Julie. Julie's got the nice touch.
No, something to look forward to. Then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You've never had a massage?
No, I'd say no.
Okay.
You're gonna have to
Never
tie me
had a
down.
massage.
Yeah. No, we wouldn't have to
No,
tie you down.
you won't want it to end. I've had a
Yeah.
massage. I still need a massage by Julie, but Julie massages the soul.
I try.
She does.
Wow.
I try.
Okay.
Yeah, she's a good energy.
The magic touch.
I hope. That would be lovely. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Sure.
it's therapeutic. So when you were working in Manhattan for the Daily News, did you live in Manhattan or were you commuting?
Yes, I was born in 33rd and 3rd.
33rd,
and
Toyd
they used
and
to say.
Toyd.
Yeah, 217 East, actually.
Yeah.
And across the street was PS 116. And down the block, cross Second Avenue, was Immaculata High School that I went to. And then I went to Pace on the subway.
Wow. Okay. So you're a real New Yorker.
Real New Yorker.
Yeah. So what brings you to Peekskill?
Somehow I came up, I had a flat tire, and I came up down the street, and I stopped at a tire factory, a repair shop. And then going out, I saw a big sign on the corner, Patricia Apartments. And I said, well, let me try that.
Oh,
So I went and knocked on the door, and it was 3 bedrooms. And we took it.
There you go.
That's amazing.
And it was, and I never traveled. And here I was taking Metro North. And in those days, Metro North only went every 2 hours to after Croton Harmon. So had to park my car in Croton Harmon and then drive home. And some weird, 2:30 in the morning was weird. The darkness and, like you were driving
really
down one of
being in the
those,
city.
what was that famous?
Twilight Zone?
Yes, exactly.
Oh.
Twilight Zone. I was always waiting. I was always joking. Something's going to happen. I'm going to drive and then I'll disappear. And sometimes you wouldn't see a car coming the other way or coming with you.
Or else like, oh, I'm going to see a skunk. Or like a live
deer,
animal.
Deer, yeah.
Yeah.
From the city.
Yeah.
Deer, yeah. Come across.
That's true. That happens. The skunks, they kind of own the streets after a certain hour.
Skunks in the city, are there? I don't think so.
Probably worse animals.
Yes. Good point.
No, it's all about rats in the city.
Yes, rats. I think they have a big problem with that.
Yeah, they still have a big problem with that, but
it doesn't go away.
It does.
I remember the Daily News had a big drive to end rats. The Daily News was an interesting operation. They owned the forest. They owned the boats that shipped it in. They owned the trucks that brought the paper to the plants.
Yeah.
And then you had to have the driveler.
They owned the forest?
The forest, yeah.
What forest
Bay
did
Como,
they use?
Bay Como.
Really?
In Canada. I don't know exactly. And I was going to go up there once because they had free transportation back. No, going up was free. Coming back, they had the load of all the paper rolls. So they had the complete gear, the natural resources and everything to produce a paper. And they did produce humongous numbers of papers.
that's very true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was selling those numbers back in the day.
Then the saying had it that when they turned the presses on, the lights would dim on 40th Street, 42nd Street.
Yeah.
So.
And Tony, you worked there?
I did.
Were you selling papers?
I was in the advertising department.
Amazing.
I started out in class, and it was advertising. Yeah, and first in classified, and then they moved you down to the main. I guess it was on the main floor to sell national. I sold the Daily News. I sold ads in the Daily News magazine. I sold advertising, and I used to ride the elevator with the journalists like Jimmy Breslin. It was not. And at the time, Bob Hebert was there when I was there before he went over to the New York Times, and we actually had more circulation in the New York Times.
A massive I don't know how to get the papers out on Sunday, and with your Sunday paper, you got a Colorado section. They had a Colorado studio on the 4th floor.
That's right, and I used to sell advertising in that. That was towards the end of my career there.
So
that was just before I left. I was working for the magazine. It was exciting.
It was.
Wow,
I'm sure it was interesting.
Yeah.
A lot of famous people in and out. A lot of athletes.
Yeah, they had a lot of Colorado. They had their own. We had our own Colorado staff. Maybe 3 or 4 photographers.
Roto is rotogravure, to tell the audience. Roto means if something's magazine, it's a different stock that it's printed on because it's a magazine.
Right.
And
shiny paper.
Shiny paper. Yeah. And in the song, the Easter bonnet, the Easter parade, they say that you'll be. I don't want to sing, but I could.
Oh, please go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. If I could write a sonnet about your Easter bonnet, and and then there's a part that goes, on the avenue, 5th Avenue, the photographers will snap us, and we'll find that we're in the rotogravure, Is that how it goes?
Yes,
Wow,
yeah, you got it,
amazing.
you got it right. You got it
Yeah.
done right.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. That's funny. I never
That
thought
is
I'd
so
find somebody that
amazing.
worked at the Daily News before I did.
There you go.
There he is. You know, but yeah, it was really important to know people like you at the Daily News, if you were in advertising, and the journalists and the artists, because when you were selling advertising, you're really selling your work in a strange kind of way.
Yes, yeah.
But what's
in the writing too?
And the writers,
sure.
the writers, you know, Jimmy Breslin was very famous. Mike Lupica was there, I believe, when I was there.
Many writers, yeah.
There were a lot of famous writers there. Some of them are still there. I think Mike Lupica, well, he's doing ESPN, I believe, now.
Yeah, I think he's not there anymore.
Yeah, they had to, because when the internet came in, but you retired from there way before the internet came, so that's not what made you stop.
No. But they asked me to come back, and I was working one day. They said, "How many days do you want?" And I said, "Well, you know, I put in 50 already. How much more do you want?" You know?
50 years.
But it was missed. It was certainly missed.
You got the gold watch.
The gold watch, yes.
And
yes,
they really
Did they
gave
really
both of
give you a
them.
gold watch?
I don't know if it was gold. It was certainly colored gold.
Oh,
I
nice.
Yeah.
I never.
There was a gold watch.
Yeah, they had the 25-year club.
Oh,
Right, and then they had to start a new club for me.
Amazing.
50-year
50-year
club.
club. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they had a big party in the Waldorf, I think.
Yes.
Or was it the Commodore? Commodore or the Waldorf? Things were snazzy then. You know,
Yeah,
I
very
think,
snazzy, and it was
a
like
lot different.
Yeah, a lot different. A lot of kind of perks of things that you got exposed to, things that you didn't think you'd be exposed to. Now, I'm thinking about a photograph that you probably did not take. It's when I started at the Daily News, taking obituaries in the classified department.
Very important.
Yeah, the guy that got shot in front of Sparks Steakhouse, and his family used to call up and do in memoriam. What was that guy's name? And they had him. He was like dead, and it was right near the Daily News that he was shot.
Right.
With Sparks Steakhouse.
Sparks Steakhouse, yeah.
Yeah, and the guy, was it Paul Castellano? That got
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They shot him right there and put the picture right. Did you take
We
that
had
picture?
Tom Monister, who I believe lived in that block.
Uh-huh.
He was right there, and he made it. And
Wow.
that was
that famous picture. That famous gruesome picture of Paul Castellano
that
dead.
reminds me of the picture of, I can't think of his name, but it was in Brooklyn, and he was shot in the back.
Yeah.
At like a picnic area. And Mary DiBiase made that picture, and the cigar was still in his mouth.
I know.
And then
That's great.
I was sent there with some other people, and there was a picture of him taking him out on a stretcher, and above it said, "We ship, exclusively. Outgoing orders are our specialty."
Oh, right. You showed me that
so
one.
great.
It
So
was
that
sort
was-
of funny you got that.
That sold that picture,
Yeah, and then you competed with the New York Post,
The Post was good, and then they sort of leveled off, and they had a building on 45th Street, but they couldn't compare with the News.
Yeah. It's funny, everybody knew each other. If you were with the News, you still kind of knew people from the Post that were doing the same job, but you kind of knew each other,
I think it was competitive. I can imagine
It was
very
Yeah.
competitive.
It was.
Who's going to get the first shot? Who's going to get the article in
I
on
think
time?
they came out in the morning, late morning. I don't think the News was overnight. You'd find the news at
Yeah.
They used to wait like 34th Street and 3rd Avenue. They'd have the news dealer there, and the trucks would come by.
Yeah.
Set 7:15, 7 o'clock. They'd dump them out, and the guys would run up and they'd sell them. There'd be lines around the corner to buy the News, and the Mirror too, I guess.
Right.
If the Mirror could get there.
That's
But
the
the
only
new-
thing there was the newspaper.
Yeah, and
You didn't have the internet.
that's right. Yeah,
You know?
and they tried to keep it modern. Yeah, I'm not modern, but
Current.
moving
Up-to-date.
up to date.
Yeah.
And with speed.
Yeah. And I think what happened was the New York Post put out an evening edition as well. Or did they came out in the evening? That's what it was. The news came out in the morning. And
Well, they both came out about 7:15. You could get a newspaper like at 34th Street.
Right.
And in those days, out of the four corners where the L was, under the L stairs was a news dealer. And there, on 34th Street, there was 34th and 3rd on the south side, and then on the north side, and then across the street. And each one sold more papers than the other. That was it. The trucks would pull up 7:30. They toss them out, and the people would get the papers, and whoever got there first got the papers sold.
Yeah. Did you ever? I want to ask you. Did you ever work through a strike?
There was a strike late, and I was, I don't know, considered management.
So you crossed the picket line.
So yeah, it was kind of ugly.
All those strikes were ugly.
And we were chased by police once in a car because we were following a news truck to get showing that it's being delivered, and they thought we were bad people. And we had to put our hands in the car and on the roof, and they had their guns drawn and everything. It was, fun. That was in Brooklyn when the news had a printing plant there that really got the paper out from all for Long Island and what.
It's a very exciting job that you had, I have to say.
It wasn't, you didn't have TV.
You didn't need TV either.
Well,
that's true. Well, the thing is that they say that, at least back then, before the internet came and took over, because I was more like print media. I became a print media specialist, which got me the job at the Daily News, because I was. But it's kind of like you think about, you're just doing your job, and then you realize when the paper comes out every single day like this, like clockwork, you couldn't, you had to get your ads in to the art department before. And I can imagine what it was like for, photojournalists like yourself. You didn't want to be scooped.
And it was galleys at that point. It was galleys you were cutting with a razor blade and putting together.
Probably on the 6th floor in the composing room,
Yeah.
And the plant was like separated from the tower of the building.
Yeah. You didn't think much of it then, but when you think back, do you realize how amazing?
How everything came together.
Yeah.
And they were very strict. I proofread Charles McCarry's column when I was a copy boy. And there were words like mayonnaise with double N, and I said, no, I don't think there's a double N. And I was wrong, there's a double N.
And there is a double N
so
in
I
mayonnaise.
always remember mayonnaise with double N.
Yeah.
So, but that was quite interesting, and they'd run the proof off, and you'd say, take it away,
Yeah.
I'm making it dramatic. But,
Well, it was kind of like that because there were such strict deadlines.
And the editors, managing editors, would be working on the page one, because that was the seller.
That was the star.
Yeah. It's I'm just like sort of starstruck by you, because I knew other photographers there. I never really had, complete, exciting conversations with them, because you never really got a chance to discuss their work with them.
Exactly, or even appear. It was unlikely that you'd be in the advertising department.
Yeah.
Or unless you were looking for some papers, back issues of papers, they had all of that down there.
Yeah, they did. And then occasionally you'd see a journalist or a photographer on the elevator, and some of the journalists, like I was telling Jimmy Breslin, I guess our schedules were kind of in sync, and I saw him often on the elevator, and he would always say, classified department is the paper. That's where all the money is. And at the time, that's where all the money came in.
Exactly.
And so the ad reps had so much pressure to deliver.
You had to sell the news.
You had to sell the news, so it wasn't unusual to sell like a writer, or there's going to be a special edition, and this particular writer is going to be featured, and that often would sell it. You'd hope the advertiser liked that particular writer. So what are you doing now as a photographer? Do you still take pictures?
I do, yes. Not as much as I used to. As a matter of fact, not as taking pictures, but the news asked me, how many days do you want to come back? And I did one day, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Okay, for one day a
traveling,
week.
yeah, one day a week, yeah, Saturday. But I had to get up I had to be there at 7 a.m., so I was getting up.
Yeah.
That was a killer, and many times I nodded out and wound up in Cold Spring.
Oh, that would happen, on the train.
Cold Spring, or it got so cold.
Or Poughkeepsie.
Poughkeepsie, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in the old days, they only ran to Croton Harmon, but then they increased it because there's so many people were moving north.
Right.
They had the one train that would go straight up and back down.
And they increased the schedule, thank goodness.
Yes. At least once every hour, maybe more. In the rush, twice an hour.
Yeah.
I have a question for Charles, if you don't mind. Like, I'm wondering about your news photography, and then I'm wondering about your personal photography.
Well,
Is there such thing? Is there a separation?
you can, yes. Yeah. They didn't like it. As a matter of fact, if you couldn't do that at the Times. Times wouldn't allow no freelance work.
Right.
But the news never didn't care as long as you did your job.
But currently, for you, as you continue to use a camera, what is your, and you're maybe not on that day that you worked for back at the Daily News, what are you shooting? What are you drawn to?
Well, when I came back, I was mostly as a desk person. And that was it, I think, mostly desk person. And there were things that I would shoot on freelance, some things like that.
Just for yourself.
Mention the German newspaper. I didn't get paid, but I did it for the,
For the creativity.
yeah, and for the German national.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and it was fun. I mean, and you got to go to these things and all of that. Central Park, they had their shows after the parade, and it really got out of hand because it was like thousands of people would come there.
And you caught some things. I was looking at your exhibit, and you caught some things that were kind of gruesome here and there. At the same time, you caught some beautiful things, and
Yes, yeah.
and so you just had sort of an eye for what the news would accept or what people
you did
would.
what was you took the picture first,
Yeah.
and then let them decide if it was. And most things we kept to. And sometimes there was this gentleman in Brooklyn who was holding police at bay for a couple hours.
Right.
And when he left, when they dragged him out, a grenade rolled down the stairs, and that was a live grenade.
Wow.
And he's screaming at me in that picture there.
That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, and I said, "Wow, this guy's a doozy." You know, hope they can lock him up.
Yeah.
So
the action
that was
shot. Yeah.
and you don't realize it, but the cops were in there too. They put their life on the line, and I'm not.
Right. Well, that's
the part of the job.
That's part of their job. That's why we call them.
And to be sharp,
cops, New York's
and
finest.
that's also goes a photographer has to make that picture.
Yeah, and you got a picture of that.
Yeah.
Well,
And sometimes the picture could be a little cockeyed, but it added to
the documentary effect
saying, well,
of
that's
it.
what he had to get, to get the picture.
Yeah.
Well, you're an exciting man, and I'm really glad that you have him exhibiting in your space, this
Me
wonderful
too.
space.
Yes.
I'm
honored.
Thank you so much, Charles Ruppmann. You're the best.
Oh,
I'm so happy that I got to meet you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Julie.
Mutual.
This is a beautiful thing, and you'll be having other exhibits. Like, what's coming up?
Is the Harriet and Her Precocious Pen, a transformational journey. This is by G.L. Friedman. She's a psychotherapist, and she's written this book, and so we'll be showing many of her drawings.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Yeah, her work I think is really special, and this is a very moving book, something that you can go through and read in 15 minutes, but it's a life's journey, and you can tell that. So we'll have her work in after Charles, and Charles will come to the opening,
I'll be there.
and she'll be reading from her book, and we'll have her books for sale as well.
Excellent.
November 1st is the opening. She'll be speaking at 6:30, and the opening will be 6 to 8. Everybody's welcome.
I'll be there.
Because there will be, as you know, Charles, and you need to come. There will be some
Yes.
food and libations.
Okay, I like libations. That's one of my favorite things. But thank you so much
My
for
pleasure.
this. Now, do you have a website where somebody can actually see your work, or are you just organic?
I'm organic. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, you could call up the news. They had some photo sales department. I mean, they sold the Life magazine picture, the when the cops went in.
Oh, the Columbia riots.
I can't remember what it was, but it was like double my salary for the week.
Yeah.
The Time bought it and they put it on the front page.
Yeah,
So
wonderful.
they really, I think in those days, you had to tell the news where you were going to put the picture, like the side of the Empire State Building, or, I'm just
Yeah,
making it.
absolutely.
So they would charge you accordingly.
Yeah.
And that was a whopper. And I called my mother at home and say, look what happened here. It's easy money.
Yeah, so this is wonderful. I'm sure you know as well that he has had his images in, is it in Life magazine as
Life
well?
magazine,
Life
yes.
magazine. And also, it just was on the tip of my tongue. Yeah, and he's also a member, and he's also shown at the International Contemporary Photography Museum in New York City.
Wow, that's very impressive.
I was also president of the New York Press Photographers Association. I had 2 terms, and I substituted for someone who was out, so I had about 5 years. And then I did the advertising for the book. We put out a beautiful book. I mean, it's not in comparison today with all the, the nuances and whatnot, but it was the lifeblood of the press photographers.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah,
We had, I think, 100 and something members, maybe more.
it's really great. Yeah.
Well,
Good work. Keep it up. Keep it
Yeah.
up, Mr. Ruppmann.
Yeah, well, I
Yeah.
put the time into it, so I'm not ashamed.
I was just given the cue that I have to say goodbye for now. And I promise you I'll have another interesting guest for you next time. And I would love to have Mr. Ruppmann back again to talk more about his photography, because he's very good at touching the heart, even when he's working. And we have to come to this exhibit at Joe's Body Shop in Peekskill, New York, and just come check it out. It's really outstanding. And so thank you again for coming to see the show. And for now, I say bye-bye.